Travis, looking at the game from the outside, it seemed like some of your younger players that hadn't necessarily had a lot of playoff experience, the Petey's, the Quinn Hughes, even Brock Besser, seemed to be potentially seem to be a little more involved in the game than maybe some of your more experienced players that have been through the playoff wars before. Did you see it that way? And if so, did that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me that they did some good things. I thought Petey was fantastic. Now, in saying that, you might say, how could Petey be fantastic when he didn't get a point or anything like that? But his compete level was very high. Obviously, he's a guy that other teams are going to key on in the playoffs, and he embraced it. We talk about that as a group, wanting to be in that heat, wanting to be in that battle, and I thought he was a really good example of that. I thought Quinn had a good game as well, a strong game. I didn't think he connected early on a few plays and got better as the game went on. I thought Brock also had a pretty strong game. I'm not going to comment on the rest of our team individually, how they played. I think we've got some players that can play better, though. I said that last night, and I stand by that today. It was a 0-0 game, 5-on-5, and we didn't bring our best game yet, which is a positive thing.
Moving along to Jim Morris.
Oh, Travis, sorry, I had to unlock my machine. You talked about, thank you very much. You talked about the physicality of the game. Were you impressed the way Petey stood up to, like, he took a lot of punishment? I imagine you expected him to do that, but were you impressed by the way he stood up to that and stayed cool, didn't really retaliate, just played his game?
Yeah, it wasn't surprising. I thought it was a very physical game. I've watched a lot of the games so far, and I thought, it was a heavy game. It was a heavy playoff game by both teams. Everyone was finishing their hits. I thought our defense stood tall off our breakouts versus their forecheck. They were strong on the puck. We didn't give up a whole lot past that first 7 or 8 minutes of the game, where I didn't think we were sharp in our zone. But yeah, it was, again, I'm not surprised that our young players played well, and I talked about it a couple days ago. Young top players in the league, they know what's coming, and they want to be in these games.
Next up, we have Ben Kuzma, Post Media.
Hey, Travis.
Hey, Kuz.
A question about JT Miller and Tyler Toffoli. I don't imagine as a head coach you spend too much time worrying about these guys. Toffoli had 4 shot attempts last night. 3 were blocked. 1 went wide. But these guys have a way of getting to the areas that you have to get to in the postseason. Even though you lost Sunday, are you buoyed by the fact that, you guys did have 28 shots, and these guys do have a playoff pedigree and kind of a nose for the net? What are you expecting from them tomorrow night?
What am I expecting from Toffoli and Miller? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm expecting, a solid game. I thought those two in general. Again, I'm not going to comment just on every player's individual play. Toph had a couple shots, like you said, that didn't get through. I thought Millsy had lots of energy in his game. They didn't connect some of the plays. But, the one thing about Miller is he brings that high compete level all the time. And I will say that as a group of forwards, if we want to score some goals, we're going to have to be better in a few areas, which we'll talk about that with our group. And again, I don't think we brought our best game, and we're going to have to be a little better tomorrow if we want to win.
Next up, we have Brendan Batchelor, Sportsnet 650.
Hey, Travis.
Hey, Batch.
Hey, just wondering, when you look at in-series adjustments ahead of Game 2 here, whether it's to your line combinations or your lineup, how do you sort of manage the fact that I'm sure you want to create more offense, but at the same time you have to be pleased with a lot of your defensive game at 5-on-5 that you guys didn't give up a whole lot either?
Yeah, it's been a lot of talk about that, and I've been asked about that a lot, about our shortcomings and our strengths as a team. I think people look at our team like an offensive team that gives up a lot of chances as well. We've worked on that a lot since we've come back, and I thought our defensive side of our game was very strong. minus that, I think 6-7 minutes at the start of the game, we might have given up 4 or 5 scoring chances the rest of the way, which is extremely high. If you would have told me game 1, we'd give up that many scoring chances, we'd probably take it and be pretty happy about it. But we've got to find a way to generate some more. When we had good chances, I thought their goalie played well. They've got a veteran group on the back end that defends well and boxes out hard. It's no secret where you score goals in the playoffs. And, we've got a day to talk to our team about it and work on a little bit in the morning and find a way to get a win tomorrow.
If there are any final questions for head coach Travis Green, please use the raise hand feature now. We're going to go back to Farhan.
Trav, I just want to ask you about the Michael Ferlin incident last night. And, there was some suggestion that it might be enough to warrant a suspension. He got a fine. Just your take on that series of events.
I've watched it quickly. I wasn't too worried about it, to tell you the truth, after it was a penalty. I thought someone grabs your stick from the bench, you're going to try to get it back maybe in a harder way than you normally would. I thought it was 2 minutes each was fine. I know Ferlin got fined. I believe 1 or 2 of their players did. Not much to talk about, really.
Jim Morris.
Travis, I think you've had 1 power play last night, if I'm correct. Anyway, drawing penalties, is that something obviously you'd like to work on or get more chances on the power play tomorrow night?
Well, I'm not sure how you work on drawing more penalties. I'm not going to ask our guys to dive, that's for sure. But we'd like to have a few more calls for sure. I'm sure every team would. There's been a lot of penalties in the playoffs. I thought the refs called a pretty good game. I'd like to see the power plays even for sure. I think if we get some more pucks into the paint and get there, we'll probably get some more penalties, some more power plays. If we move our feet off the puck a little more, we can draw more power plays. But again, I think they were 4-2 last night. Usually that evens out as the series goes on. Any series, at the end of it, you hope that the power plays are even. I thought both teams played a heavy, hard game, much like you'd expect in the playoffs. I got no complaints about the power plays. That was a hard-fought game that we came up on the wrong side. Tomorrow we're going to play better, and I like our chances if we do.
Back to Farhan.
Last one for me, Travis. Just assuming you had the option to practice today, it's still early in the playoffs, early in the series. Some coaches would prefer to watch film. Others want to work on things. What's your general philosophy about practice during the playoffs?
Well, I don't know how many playoff games you've played, Farhan, but guys are pretty tired after these games late at night, and it's very physical and taxing. And we're always going to do what gets us best ready to play the next game. And that was the decision we'd made. They'd skated 3 days in a row. And again, playoff hockey is very intense if you haven't played it. And we felt keeping the guys off the ice and getting a skate in the morning would be best for our group.
And we're going to take a final question from Ben Kuzma, Post Media. Ben, go ahead.
Hey, Travis, I'm going to ask you your favorite question. You do have some lineup options in your bottom 6, but we've talked at length about how well Ferlin played last night. His presence was quite noticeable. His pace was good. You got a 7-hit performance from Tyler Mott. Sutter had a couple of chances. Are you more buoyed by the potential in your bottom 6 and go with the status quo tomorrow night as opposed to making some changes?
So you're asking me if I'm considering making changes?
Go ahead, Ben.
Sorry, there we go. I want to know if you're more leaning toward the fact that what you got out of your bottom 6 mix last night as opposed to making changes.
I don't think it's just our bottom 6 what we got out of. I thought our top 6 didn't get a lot of offense either. And we are considering everything. Is there a chance we'll make a change? For sure. I'm probably not going to tell you that, though, if I am.
And apologies, we're going to have one final question. Ben will ask on behalf of Ed Willis.
Travis, this question from Ed is, are the adjustments for game 2 about X's and O's, or is it more about grit and urgency?
There'll be a little bit of both, to be honest. X's and O's, we didn't see a whole lot of things that surprised us. There are things that we'll talk about with our group. And part of it, if you want to score, is it grit? Part of it a little bit, but we also showed a lot of grit in our game as well. You watch how we defended, again, minus that 7 or 8 minutes where I thought we were a little loose. We defended pretty hard. It was a physical, hard game as far as grit goes. I thought we had a lot of guys that showed that, and it wasn't just our so-called physical players. A lot of our younger players, skilled players, showed a lot of grit and heart as well. Didn't get rewarded for it, and if they do that again, I'm sure they will.